I always remember spending a car journey with Sir Peter Vardy, and his comment to me it stuck in my mind is when he got Reg Vardy to 50 sites, he felt that he could no longer influence the culture as well as he could do when it was 20 or 30, and at that point he felt it was the right time to sell. And obviously he did amazingly well from that, but it did make me think, actually, and a few clients have talked about a pack of cards and 52 sites. When you get to 52, something has to go for another one to come, because actually I don't want to exceed that. I want to keep the pack at that managed level. So everybody's got differing views. I'm sure the bigger guys think that actually having 200 sites is more than manageable, and they've got the systems and processes to do it. But I guess that's the interesting dynamics of the sector we love.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the AM News Show podcast. As always, we're happy to interview senior execs in the industry and find out their insights into what's going on currently. And if you enjoy that kind of thing, which obviously you're watching this, so I guess you do, please do hit the subscribe button and make sure that you get to watch the other ones in future. So today I'm here with Dave Kendrick. So Dave has just recently been appointed Chief Executive of UHY Hacker Young Manchester. Previously, he was obviously a regular contact of AM as one of the key figures in its automotive team, in fact, leading the automotive team, Dave, weren't you? So I'm interested to start with, really, this promotion. What does that kind of mean, and what's changing then with your role?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on, Tim. Appreciate it, and always good to chat. I think nothing's massively changed, if I'm completely honest with you, apart from I've got a lot more hassle and people to deal with. But no, I think in all seriousness, we obviously manage our automotive business from the Manchester business within the UHY group. So we look after 70 or 80 motor groups from a audit, accounts, tax perspective, and then we've obviously got the large M&A expertise there as well. And over the last just short of a decade, we've, I guess, developed that business quite substantially, myself and a couple of other colleagues, and we've just restructured the business to give it a little bit more formality, a little bit more kind of focus in different areas. And yeah, from my perspective, I guess there's got to be a figurehead to lead that business and hopefully continue to develop and grow it. So we're still absolutely committed to the sector and the clients we're working with. I'm still heavily involved in the M&A side of things as well. But ultimately, I guess we also now have the absolute responsibility of the 140, 150 people we've got in Manchester. And hopefully that will continue to grow so we can, again, just continue to support our clients and businesses that we're working with. So, yeah, an expanded role probably with less hours in the day. But to the outer world, nothing has kind of changed from an automotive client perspective. Okay.
And that automotive part is still a key part of the business and one that you'll grow over time, I guess?
Yeah, massively. So it's probably just shy of 40% of our total revenue annually, excluding the deal kind of side of things, because the core business is typically annual recurring work that we look after clients on, and yeah, the intention is absolutely to continue to grow that at a sensible rate. We're not looking to kind of take on the world or anything like that, but we've also got Paul Daly and Ian McMahon as two of the other key automotive partners in our team. Ian only joining us 12-18 months ago, so there's plenty of kind of gas in the tank to continue that growth and hopefully support more businesses and give them some good advice.
Okay, brilliant. And you mentioned the M&A activity. Obviously, that's something we've been watching with a lot of interest in recent years. Recently, deals such as the scale of kind of Virtue buying Helston garages, is that a one-off? Are we going to see similar kind of scale deals coming forward in the future as more things change in the industry, or will they be rare, do you think?
I guess if you look at, I've done this for 20 years now, and you look at some of the deals that have come and gone, and I guess the first large one I remember was Benfield being acquired by Lookers. More recent times, we've had Motorline's acquisition by Marshalls. Obviously, the Constellation acquisition of Marshalls was massive. Helston, obviously, again, another substantial deal, kind of 40 plus dealership outlets in total. Lithia's move with the Jardine acquisition recently, another quite scaled acquisition. So I'm not sure we will see them more frequently, because actually when you look at the AM100 and you look at that kind of top 25 probably, which is where the kind of substantial scale based on turnover is, if you actually dissect that, you've got a chunk of PLCs in there, you've got a chunk of internationals in there, you've then got some long established family businesses that maybe have management teams in place that run the businesses, they're held in trust for the benefit of the trustees, the beneficiaries. So there probably will be the odd one, but I wouldn't anticipate kind of 2 or 3 a year of anything of that ilk, I don't think. I think it's probably going to be more of the same, probably more of that movement in the 20 to 100th position maybe, where you've got successful regional groups that they've come to the end of the shareholders era and it's time for moving on, or perhaps there's a strategic play with an international or what have you that may look to kind of get a foothold in the UK market. But I think we will see more consolidation. We're seeing that now. I think one of the biggest challenges the sector faces is fresh new blood coming in. I think the affordability of these businesses and the cost of entry is quite prohibitive now. And that's one of the biggest concerns or challenges that I have for the longer term is actually there's no sponsored dealer programs anymore. There's no real external funding for intangibles. And whilst there's some amazing operators out there undoubtedly would love to own their own business, how do they actually secure that opportunity? So it's a bit of a dying breed, those new startups. So yeah, I think the consolidation will continue and hopefully it won't run out in my lifetime.
I'm sure it won't. It's quite interesting as well because you look at some of the brands now that have publicly said they're looking to reduce the number of partners that they're working with. They're looking for those scale relationships. So I've heard it said quite a lot recently about we're now in a kind of point where dealers need to kind of either need to grow, need to go big, gain some scale, or kind of exit the industry. And I guess that's a decision that some people further down the tail are having to make fairly soon.
Yeah, I think it's probably a fair comment. These things do have a happy knack of being cyclical. You'll have someone who comes in as a new chief exec or development manager or director within one of the OEMs, and they decide that they want to go to a kind of a regional geographic market area approach. Then 5 years later, they change roles. Someone else comes in, decides that actually they're a little bit too invested with a smaller number of partners, and therefore they divest of those businesses and go back to individual operators. So it does tend to be cyclical, but I think the common theme at the moment appears to be that the OEMs are looking to reduce in the main the number of network partners. There's a number of OEMs at the moment that I think have written to their entire network and put them at notice of termination, and then they issue reappointment letters or comfort letters as to whether you are a kind of an A, B or a C.
Yeah.
That seems to be something that's quite prevalent. We've obviously got the risk of agency coming as well, and that potentially gives the OEM a little bit more control. They could be 12 to 24 month rolling contracts with the dealers again. So I think the go or grow statement is a very, very fair one. I think if you are a 1, 2, 3 site business, I'm sure there's some very successful ones out there, but with the way that the internet's evolving and economies of scale and the sourcing of used vehicles and the investment in the kind of the quality of management you need to make these businesses successful, having that little bit of scale is probably the right way to go. And I think my view, for what it's worth, is that optimum size is probably somewhere between 10 dealerships and 30. I think 10, you can still be quite a substantial business and have that solid infrastructure and that kind of diverse management team focusing on the different brand partners you've got. 30, you're still able to keep that culture, you're still able to keep that control. Yeah. I think when it starts getting 50, 100, 150, I struggle to see how challenging it must be to keep the controls, understand the culture, know the people. I always remember spending a car journey with Sir Peter Vardy and his comment to me kind of it's stuck in my mind is when he got Reg Vardy to 50 sites. He felt that he could no longer influence the culture as well as he could do when it was 20 or 30. And at that point, he felt it was the right time to sell. And obviously, he did amazingly well from that. But it did make me think, actually, and a few clients have talked about a pack of cards and 52 sites. When you get to 52, something has to go for another one to come, because actually, I don't want to exceed that. I want to keep the pack at that managed level. So everybody's got differing views. I'm sure the bigger guys think that actually having 200 sites is more than manageable, and they've got the systems and processes to do it. But I guess that's the interesting dynamics of the sector we love.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine the bigger the scale, the bigger the challenge of getting the quality of the people in there to kind of adhere to the processes that you have in place. But interestingly, the recent kind of international, we've seen quite a lot of international investment in the UK. What is it about UK motor retailers that's attracting people like kind of Lithia, LSH and the likes?
I guess there's a number of factors, isn't there? I think whilst we perhaps sit in the country reading the press and feeling sorry for ourselves, the actual economic or the general economic status of the UK over a longer period of time is relatively stable compared to other ones. I think the governance around doing business in the UK is very well protected for corporates. You go to some other European or international markets and the business practices are perhaps a little bit more questionable than the way the business is operated here, which I think internationals really like because they kind of know what they're getting. We are landlocked, so actually real estate typically is probably over a long term a good safe investment. Certainly if you're in it for a scaled period, a longer period of time. And I suppose the other thing that you can't get away from is the fact that if you look at the multiples that the UK automotive retail businesses transact at compared to some of the kind of US, South African, Australian, European markets, they're quite heavily discounted. So if you're sat in the US and you can pay 7-8 times EBITDA as a kind of an EV valuation, and you're trading in your local market on the stock exchange, or your local businesses are transacting at 16 to 18 times, you're getting immediate incremental value as soon as you buy that business and consolidate it into your group abroad. The other thing that you can't get away from is obviously the pound is pretty weak at the moment. So again, it looks very, very good value. So you're getting a discount against the exchange rate. Now, granted, you've got to get that money back out at some point. But I think for all those reasons, it is becoming a very, very attractive area to put money into. And I think because there's been a number of success stories now as well, others are starting to kind of look over the fence and say, actually, perhaps the risk profile isn't as great as we thought, and Brexit hasn't had as much of an impact as they might have perceived, and all of those type of things that I guess have been uncertain factors. Certainly the conversations we're having, I can't think of a time in the last decade where I've had as many exciting and interesting conversations with people around, can we seriously look at this, and how can you help us open some doors, and we've got X million that we'd like to deploy in the UK for the right opportunity. It's really exciting, and from my perspective it's great because it brings a fresh crop of potential buyers to the table, as opposed to just looking at your little black book and going back to the 12 or 15 that you've dealt with over the last kind of decade that have been serial acquirers. So I think it's giving a new dynamic to the market. Clearly, the OEMs have to be on board with these new players coming in as well. But a lot of these bigger businesses have got multiple manufacturer relationships outside the UK already. So it's just an expansion of that. So yeah, it's exciting.
Absolutely. And the financials are still pretty strong for UK retailers. We've obviously seen 2021 kind of record profits. 2022, I think, from what I'm hearing, is pretty reasonable for most of them. So that makes them attractive as well, I guess. Talking about kind of opportunities to growth, I just want to quickly, before we finish, Dave, talk to you about the recent AM Awards. You presented the Strategic Success Award to Stephen Eagle. Tell me a bit more about that. What makes that business stand out for you?
I think the reason we felt that Stephen was a a worthy winner of that award is quite simply the business that he has grown from. I think it was a single site sponsored dealer he started out.
Yeah,
and,
Milton Keynes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. And he almost has the golden touch, in my opinion, when it comes to Toyota Lexus businesses. We talk about, with clients and contacts, we talk about having an identity to your business and perhaps not having 10 sites with 10 different OEMs and not really having a focus. And I think what Stephen's demonstrated is, and I'm not entirely sure how many sites he's got, and perhaps there's press rumours around maybe he's going to be expanding further shortly, but he's probably got 20, 30 plus dealerships now, all with Toyota Lexus. Which some people will argue, well, you've got your eggs heavily in one basket. I think he will argue, well, I'm like a stick of rock. If you cut me in half, I'm Toyota Lexus through and through. I understand it inside out. My team understand it. We've got a tried and tested formula that we roll out across every single business, and the numbers speak for themselves. When you talk to someone, and if it's not £1 million profit per site, they're disappointed. That for me is a very, very commendable achievement. And I don't know what his UK market retail share will be for Toyota Lexus, but it must be kind of 20+% now. And he does an amazing job for the brand. He obviously does an amazing job from a return perspective. And our view was that he's done something that no one else has really done. He's built a phenomenal group with kind of geographic coverage all over the place now. And to take that from that single site through to this kind of probably $1 billion+ turnover business that it will be for 2023 is commendable. And he's not one to put himself in the limelight very often. Yeah. So I'm sure he probably didn't appreciate getting dragged up on stage, and the look on his face was
it
a
was
picture.
A nice surprise. Really.
Yeah, he was very surprised, to say the least. But we just felt, do you know what, actually, you have to take your hat off to some of these entrepreneurs who perhaps don't shout about themselves very often, go under the radar, just get on with their own business, but behind the scenes have created something that is very, very special. And it'll be really interesting to see where that business continues to grow, whether they do actually look at partnering with another relationship and branching out, or where the Toyota Lexus thing goes. You would think at some point they're going to hit capacity. But obviously that working relationship's amazing. And again, some of the businesses he's taken on have been very, very challenging, and have been loss-making or been under kind of management issues or what have you. And within 6-12 months, they've got the Stephen Eagle effect on them, and their process, their people, whatever they do, that magic formula just gets put onto the businesses, and before you know it, they're in strong profits. They're getting really good CSI scores. I'd love just to have kind of 10% of whatever they do, just to take and do the equivalent to our business, because it is special. It is special, and that's the reason, basically.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think what you said about some of you in the industry kind of having all your eggs in the one basket is a weakness, equally the commitment is there, the relationship is clearly there, and the absolute understanding of what their role is for Toyota and Lexus, and the way that they do that so well. Last year's AM100 figures, they were up there in the top 20 for profit per employee, profit per site. So yeah, as an absolute star performer, I think they completely deserve the award.
Completely agree.
Fantastic. Right, I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap that up there. Again, thank you for watching. Like I said, if you like these podcasts, please do hit the subscribe button, and watch out for the next one next month. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Tim.